In this example, we have a function f of x, and it looks like it's a quadratic function written in vertex form. And so what we're going to do is evaluate this function at 4 different values of x. And you'll notice we have a nice whole number, a negative fraction, a negative decimal, and then this irrational number 3 plus the square root of 2. So it kind of gets a little more challenging as we go on. So if you'd like to try any of these, or maybe all of these, before we do them together, go ahead and pause the video and do so, and then come on back and we'll work them together. All right, so the first one's going to be 2, so f at 2. And so in order to evaluate a function, remember, we're just going to go ahead and plug this 2 value in for all the x's. And so negative 7 halves times, we have 2, which is our x, so 2 minus 6. We're going to square that and subtract 2. And so 2 minus 6 will be negative 4. And negative 4 squared then is positive 16. So we can say 16 and then minus 2. And then we can kind of put this 16 over 1 if you like and do a little cancellation top to bottom. In any case, negative 7 times 8 is negative 56 over 1. Minus 2 will be our negative 58. And so we can evaluate this function, f of x, at the value x equals 2, and we'll get negative 58. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the next one. Negative 3/4 is what we're going to plug in. And so let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Negative 7 halves times, and so it's x minus 6, so it'll be negative 3/4 minus 6 quantity squared minus 2. And so let's go ahead and move up now that we've written that. So we have the negative 7 halves out front and negative 3/4 minus 6. We could put that 6 over 1 and then get common denominators. And so it'll be minus 3/4 minus, let's see, a 24 over 4. That quantity is squared minus 2. So negative 7 halves, and then we have a negative 27 over 4 squared minus 2. Okay, so let's see. Negative 27 squared will be 729. 4 squared will be 16, and we still have that minus 2. So when I multiply across, it's because nothing will cancel here. So 7 times 729 should be, let's see, negative 5103 over 32. Minus 2, or 2 over 1, and we can get common denominators by multiplying by 32 top and bottom. So that's minus 64 over 32, which when we put those together should be, let's see, negative 5167 over 32 for our fraction. So there we go. So when we evaluate our function f of x at negative 3/4, we're going to get negative 5167 over 32. So our next one is going to be f at negative 0.4. Okay, so once again, let's look at this function. So we need to put negative 0.4 right there for the x. And so we'll have negative 7 halves times the quantity here, negative 0.4 minus 6. That quantity will be squared, and then minus 2. So we'll kind of do all this. So a negative 0.4 minus 6 is a negative 6.4. That quantity will be squared. Let's see. This is an easy one. This will be, let's see, 4,096 in 2 decimal places, so 40.96 will be positive. And so when we multiply through, we could put that over 1 and then cancel here. So it looks like 20.48. And then so negative 7 times 20.48 should be something like, let's see, negative 1. 43.36 minus the 2, and that should give us, let's see, negative 145.36. Okay, so a lot of little mental math type problems here, little exercises that we can do, so this is good for that. All right, and we have one last one. We're going to do f at 3 plus the square root of 2. And so once again, let's go back up to the top. Here's our 3 plus radical 2 is the fourth and final one. And so we're just going to go ahead and substitute that right in there for the x. And so negative 7 halves times. So we'll say 3 plus the square root of 2 minus 6. That quantity is squared minus 2. So I can simplify this just a little bit here. The 3 minus 6 will be a negative 3. So let's say the square root of 2 minus 3 squared, and then minus 2. We can do our little squaring business here. It's not directly this guy and this guy, but we have our formula. And so our formula is the square of the first one, and then twice the product here. So it looks like 6 radical 2, and then the square of the second one, which we can clean up just a little bit. 2 and 9 makes 11, minus 6 radical 2 minus 2. And finally, let's distribute and see what we have. So negative 77 over 2 plus, because the two negatives make a positive here. Let's see, the 2 and the 6 can cancel, make a 1 and a 3. So 7 times 3 is 21 radical 2 minus 2. And then this 2 is really kind of over 1, and we can get common denominators with that 2 by saying times 2 times 2. So negative 77, negative 4, that'll make a negative 81 over that 2, plus 21 times the square root of 2. And that will be what we get when we evaluate our function f of x at the x value 3 plus the square root of 2. So fairly quickly we went through that, and it was to show you just how to evaluate some different values for this quadratic function in vertex form. We used a whole number, this 2, which was nice, a little fraction, a decimal, and an irrational number. So there's that example.